civic community. Welcome to the living room. Who's your Who's Who community leader of the week? Welcome to the living room. I'm your host, Shanna Van Ness. Today, we're at the Microsoft Technology office in Times Square, New York City. And today is the first day of the 3-day startup program. Today's guest is Desiree Freisen, Program Manager of 3-day Startup. We will also speak with Genevieve Simmons. She will teach participants on how to provide an effective pitch.
So 3-day Startup is an entrepreneurship education program for university students that is expanded worldwide. And our mission is to make entrepreneurship ubiquitous, not only throughout universities and colleges around the world, but also within the university as well. Okay.
Yeah, and 3DS got started at the University of Texas by a group of graduate students. Mm-hmm. And there seemed to be a good understanding and good theoretical approach to entrepreneurship, but there was nothing practical. And that's what they wanted to create. And so they created a program like what we have now. Mm-hmm. But it seemed that other disciplines had figured out before. Engineering students had machine shops where they could build things. Right. And chemistry students had labs where they can blow things up. Mm-hmm. And so they wanted to create a sandbox for entrepreneurship. And to summarize it, it's a very hands-on program. And students learn, just like Alexa said, by doing.
Carlos, tell me what actually happens with the students when they finish the 3-day
Mm-hmm.
program.
So after the students finish with the program, they then join our global community. It's what we call the 3-day Startup Global Network. And this is where we encourage them to continue working on their ideas, to meet regularly, maybe every week or every other week. And we're also available to continue mentoring them. If they're looking for connections to accelerators or incubators or just mentors that can make something happen or easier to access for them, then we create those connections. For example, we had a program in Israel, and one of the students was looking to connect with somebody that knew about power creation, and we knew somebody in Austin, Texas, and so we made that connection. And I believe till this day, they're still working together.
Wonderful. Now, how many mentors does 3-day Startup have to actually, service and support the students who go through the program?
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's a really good question because we have countless numbers.
And we really try and bolster the mentor
mm-hmm.
network at the local level. The biggest thing is, there's a lot of lecturers who go into a city and they fly out and they never come back. Mm-hmm. And 3-day Startup is really passionate about building sustainable ecosystems on university campuses. And the way that you do that is by creating a really, really good local organizing team that we can work with, and then bolstering that ecosystem by finding mentors, different esteemed entrepreneurs and investors that can work with the students after the 3 days. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's important that they're ingrained during the process. That way afterwards, they've already connected with a bunch mm-hmm. of students, and they can help them develop their projects after the weekend. Okay.
So I'm here with Genevieve Simmons, and I was lucky to get a glimpse of you standing in front of the group of participants at 3-day Startup. Yeah. So tell me what your role is in the 3-day Startup program.
Okay, so basically for 3-day Startup, I was teaching, pitching, and a little bit of marketing, just trying to help people learn, how you set up a pitch, and how do you find that emotional ingredient that makes people actually want to care about what you're saying.
What's the most important ingredient in a pitch?
I would definitely say that the most important ingredient is having that that seed of either inspiration or connection to the audience. Why should they care? And if you don't have that, you could have the best product in the world, but it won't matter.
So tell me, have you heard the best and worst pitch, and what was it?
So best pitch is really hard to decide, but I know what the worst pitch is because it was mine. Because I thought that I could, I was so good at pitching that I could just kind of do something and it would be great. So I didn't practice, and it was actually about like a singing startup that would help teach people how to sing. So I went up there and I was going to do like 10 seconds of like singing really off key, and And I did it, and it was really off key, and people were uncomfortable. And I was like, "Ooh, perfect! Now I can tell about the startup and how I can actually make people sing better." And then I forgot all the lines, and so it was literally just me singing really off key, and then saying, "Oh, I don't remember my lines. I'm gonna bow out now, guys." And that was it.
Wow. So I guess that experience helped you work on pitching and teaching others how to pitch.
Definitely, because it was kind of like, you know what, even if you know how to speak to people and make a connection, you still have to have all those other ingredients. You need to practice. You need to do your homework. You just do.
Right. So what actually brought you to the 3-day startup program?
So I actually knew the 3-day startup program when it started in Houston, and when I moved to New York, they gave me a heads up that they were doing it here, which is really great. I love that it's spreading. I love startup culture because it has the power to change the world.
I'm here with Desiree Freisen of 3-Day Startup. Hey, Desiree.
Hey, how are you?
Good. So Alexis and Carlos told me you have a key role here at 3-Day Startup. Can you tell me what your role actually is?
Everything. So I am the program organizer for 3-Day Startup. I joined in 2013. And I work with our other volunteers on creating this program that we do 2 to 3 times a year. So I work on recruiting volunteers, mentors. I work with on parts of recruiting participants for the program. And so my role basically is to keep our New York City programs running and get these startups up and running. So the first day of our program basically is all about brainstorming and selecting teams. So everyone that participates in our program has the opportunity to pitch their idea. It's about a 3-minute pitch, and then after all the ideas have been pitched, then we pick the top 8 ideas. And so the first day, we want to see what people's commonalities are, what their shared interests are, and they will form a team from there. But we like to see when teams are well-rounded, so we like to see a computer science person on there, a marketer, a designer. It kind of runs the gamut. So that's the first day, and day 2 basically is prototyping, wireframing, and then also doing market research. So we basically kick them out of the building for about 2.5 hours, and they have to go get 30 interviews from potential customers, and they come back and they work on their first round of functionality of a prototype. And they also can do wireframes if they don't have the ability to code or to program or things like that. And they just work. We do feed them, so we don't starve them during the weekend. And then we also work with mentors for about 5-6 hours of the program. And that's where they can get, feedback on their ideas and where they should be going, about their roadmap. And day 3 is more work and pitch to investors.
Can you describe the demographic of the participants? Like I know you said they're marketers, it could be coders, but what's the overall demographic of this group of participants?
Well, we do have a strong female representation for this group, so we have about almost half and half. So it's about 60% male, and it's about 8% female. And usually we like to see diversity in backgrounds, just with skill set, race, gender, educational background. So there are some people here who have associate's degrees, bachelor's degrees, PhD degrees, master's degrees. So the demographic spans quite large. But, we have people here who are from a different country. We have one person here who's from Africa. We have one person here is also from California. So
wow, that's a huge range.
Yeah.
So participants have to be currently enrolled in school or currently in a New York, based degree program, or can anyone actually sign up to attend a 3-day startup?
Right, correct. Anyone can sign up for a 3-day startup program. So a majority of the people that we work with are students, but we believe that entrepreneurship can reach any age. So we will accept those who maybe graduated a few years or graduated many years outside of college. But if they show they have the the motivation and they're inspired to do something great during the weekend, we will accept them.
Okay, wonderful.
Sir, I actually had a startup company for about 2 years, and it failed. And it was sad to see it go, but it needed to fail. And so taking that learning, I wanted to apply it back to 3-day startup. So when we meet with students and participants, and they have these great ideas, and we're helping them validate it. That's awesome. So we teach them, fail fast, but succeed even faster. So the biggest takeaway really is that they can apply the learning that we teach them over these 3 days and to put it into their business after they leave our program.
Wow, that really sounds great. I like that concept. Fail fast, but succeed faster.
Yes.
So you also talked about individuals being mentors and volunteers. How can people in the New York City area actually become a volunteer or mentor for 3-Day Startup?
Well, they can go to our website, nyc.3daystartup.org. They can email me. We are on Facebook, Twitter, so they can tweet us or they can put a message on Facebook, and it's pretty easy to get in contact with us. So if they want to come and mentor our teams a few times a year, if they just want to help us organize programs, we need the help.
Great talking to you, Desiree. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we saw that actually happen at 3DS UCLA.
Yeah.
There were a couple accelerator and incubator programs there who were with us during the process, and they were beyond excited to continue with the students. They were handing out business cards like, please apply. We can help you continue.
Yeah, nice. So how can someone become a mentor?
So it actually is, again, kind of based at the local level. So based on the background of that person, the local organizing team will reach out to a bunch of different people in the community and describe to them what the 3-Day Startup process is like. That's a very collaborative program and kind of what the essence and the feel of the program is. And then they'll be able to determine what mentors they should bring in. But usually, similar how our program is very interdisciplinary, the mentors mimic that as well. So we'll have people who have more of a technical background, who have a great background in design and business, and also some investors and VCs come in.
Okay, great. So are there any other programs at 3-Day Startup that people can benefit from?
Yeah, we actually have a 3-Day Startup inside corporations. We realized and we discovered that our model actually applies to at the corporate level. Some corporations want their employees to stay innovative and to actually solve problems that the companies are facing. And so we bring the model in there. It could be half students and half staff members, or it could be only staff members. And another way that we work with corporations is some corporations have different pieces of software they have developed over time, and they don't know what to do with this technology. And so we bring students that, again, they're super creative, and they just want to solve problems, create solutions. And so they utilize the corporation's software and just build things. And we actually had a company that came out of one of those corporations called Guava. It was a fintech company, and they ran their company for about I believe 2 years. So yeah, it's pretty cool stuff.
We work with university student teams around the world who kick this off on their campus. So when we work with a student team, there's a 2 to 3 month process beforehand, getting it started up on campus and getting the community really involved in entrepreneurship. So they solicit applications across the university, which means that this is a very interdisciplinary program, getting students from engineering, from design and marketing, from business, law, all different areas of the school. So once the 3 days hit, on the first day, you have this community already kind of created of 40 students that are going to go through this entrepreneurial process. And on the first day, they kick it off, identifying some initial problems and ideas that they want to work with. Then ideas are selected, and the top 5 to 7 are going to be the ones that the whole entire group work on throughout the rest of the weekend. Teams are formed, and then they start working through the lean startup process.
Today is the last day of the 3-Day Startup program, and we're here at the Microsoft Technology office in Times Square. We'll get an opportunity to speak to a few participants who participated in a long 3 days to gain a perspective on their experience of the 3-Day Startup program. Hi, Nachari.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. So what inspired you to actually participate in the 3-Day Startup program?
Well, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I wanted to actually start working on developing long-term sustainable solutions for my community using different technologies. So when I learned about 3-Day Startup and how they were using a very intense model to help you learn business development over the weekend, I realized this would be the perfect opportunity for me.
Okay, great. So what actually is, I guess, your startup idea?
Well, it's still very, very new, much like most of the participants here, but my startup idea is a community resource allocation tool In more simple language, it is a web application that many nonprofits, my background is in nonprofit communities, nonprofits to connect with each other and using different resources such as geographic information or data, infographics, you name it, in one central place in order to best meet the needs of the community.
Okay. So it's been an intense 3 days, I would assume, and this is the last day. Tell me, what did you learn and gain from participating so far?
I learned how, from the soft perspective or like the personal perspective, I learned how to work in a very nurturing startup environment because my perception, my original perception of startup environments was very competitive. And the 3-day startup model, it shows you how to have competition in terms of developing your idea in such a short amount of time, but also working with a diverse group of people in order to make your idea turn into something that is actually a viable product.
Wow. Well, thank you, Nachari. I look forward to seeing your startup in the community. Thank you.
One of my favorite parts of 3-day startup was when we kicked them out of the building literally to go validate their ideas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they, students are in love with their ideas and they think it's going to be the next Facebook or the next Google. But once they go out there and actually interact with customers, they realize that they're not necessarily solving a big problem. And so once they collect that feedback, there's a group of mentors that is going to guide them through, to do the process of understanding those data points that they have now collected and actually re-engineer those solutions that they initially had to actually solve the problem that they discovered through market validation.
And that's day 2, and then day 3 is all about execution and building their pitch, figuring out how they're going to communicate this beginning idea and solution for a true customer pain that they've developed over the 3 days.
Okay. So you did say like the program is like an interdisciplinary program. You have students from all different types of fields, maybe engineering, science, math, it could be fashion. How does that contribute to the overall 3-day experience when people bring their ideas, to the program?
Well, that's something that we truly believe actually inspires a lot of innovation. That if you are, just a business student, you're only working with other like-minded people, and you're just kind of all in that space all the time, you're not hearing different perspectives, different mindsets, and different insights. So that's where we feel that the true magic happens, is being able to, as myself, I have a business background, and being able to work with a designer and, someone in the more technical field, and then someone who maybe has a humanities degree or is kind of a wild card type of participant, I'm able to see how to build a business from a variety of viewpoints. And it's interesting from that management perspective, working with those different people.
Okay, great. So on average, how many students actually participate? I know you said this is a program that's, across the nation, right?
Yeah.
So how many students actually benefit and participate in the program?
Run over 132 programs in this past year. It's been growing a lot this semester because we've had a lot more programs come up as well. But about each program averages 40 students. So thus far, we've been able to work with over 6,280 students around the world, which is, it's so exciting to see that impact, and from an economic development perspective too, watching those students go after the 3 days, continue on their projects, and continue to elevate their communities.
Right. Wow. So what are some of, like, I guess maybe the projects that students have created that they are actually using in their community? Do you know of any?
Question. So Carlos was actually a participant before working at 3 days.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so after I graduated from my undergrad degree, I took some business classes, but I still didn't feel well equipped to be able to launch a company. And so after going through a 3-day startup process, my team and I developed an application that would allow people rather to scan soft drinks and visualize the contents of sugar in a drink. And the purpose was to kind of shock them once they were able to visualize what the contents of sugar they were about to intake, and hopefully motivate them to make better decisions. And so that's, I guess, one example that I can mention right now. When we started. And
great.
one of my favorite ones too, this is a crazy one, when I facilitated Cornell, through the S Cornell,
Okay.
there was this group of engineers, electrical engineers actually, and they actually developed, they used a breadboard. A breadboard is where you put microchips and transistors and stuff like that. So they created this wireless headset that you can use to go running, and you can, just by thinking left or right, you could switch your playlist tracks. And so that was pretty cool to see that getting built in 3 days. They were running back and forth between school and Radio Shack to be able to get all these components.
Okay.
But the demo worked, and it was pretty amazing.
Wow,
Yeah.
that sounds amazing. So today we're at the Microsoft Technology office on the last day of the 3-day startup program. And I'm here with Ilar. Hi, Ilar.
Hi,
Hi. So tell me, what's your role here with 3-day startup?
I'm a co-organizer this weekend.
Okay, so tell me what that actually consists of.
Okay, so as a co-organizer, what I've done is that we interview the applicants. So I've interviewed a few number of applicants who we've accepted to the program, and I also help with basically organizing the event for the weekend. It includes making sure that everything is in order. People are working hard, and there's organization, and there's a process that goes on, and I'm part of making sure that happens.
Okay. Now tell me, how many applicants do you screen? It seems like, there's a lot of participants here today, so how many applicants actually, I guess, apply to participate?
I believe we had over 100 applications that we received, and we accepted 60 into the program.
Okay, so how long have you been in this role with 3-day startup?
I started my engagement with 3-day startup a few months back, and this is the first time that I'm organizing a 3-day startup program.
Okay, wow, that's really exciting, first time. So I guess, what would be your most rewarding experience, since this is really your first experience, coordinating all of this?
So the part that has been the most rewarding for me is just meeting all these great people and being part of the excitement that goes into starting your own business and trying to get an idea off the ground, and just meeting all the mentors, meeting all the just people. I think there's a lot. We have a really good group of people with great ideas and great energy. It's just fantastic to be part of it.
Wow, thank you, Ilar. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yes. What's your most rewarding experience in working in 3-day startup? And I'll start with you, Alexis.
Awesome. Well, I think my most rewarding experience, and just to kind of backtrack a little bit, I was a lead organizer at Creighton University in Omaha. So I was able to see how to build up this program from day one at a new school. And from that experience and now working with the organization, I continue to be inspired and really moved by the transformational experience that you see students go through during those 3 days. So they come together, and some students, as Carlos was saying, some students don't know if they want to be an entrepreneur. Some are really interested in starting a company. Some just want to be corporate innovators. And seeing them get to the weekend with no idea or barely an idea, and then ending the weekend alongside of esteemed mentors and different entrepreneurs in the community, being able to see that transition to a fully formed early stage project that they'll kick off throughout the rest of the months, coming afterwards is really exceptional.
Okay. And you, Carlos, since you were a participant and you worked there, so what's your most rewarding experience?
My most rewarding experience, again, was to participate. Although I went through business school, I still didn't feel well equipped. So I know there's students like that out there, and I meet them at every program that I go to. So I feel really good to bring this opportunity to them and, change their lives literally, to define what we call at 3-day startup a third path in their careers. And if you're wondering what that is, we define the first path to be, getting an education and getting a job, getting an education and then go out there and get a job, or, after you graduate with an undergrad, get more education. And the third path, we believe, it should be starting a company while they're in school. They are in the most creative times of their lives. They don't have too many commitments, and they have all these resources available on campus that they need to take advantage of. So that's pretty rewarding to be able to but actually empowering them to just launch whatever ideas they have and make their dreams come true if that's what they're pursuing.
Right.
You know?
I think the program really sounds awesome. I think, one, being an entrepreneur takes a lot of courage. And just even having that courage and willingness to say, hey, I want to create, or hey, I want to change, or hey, I want to do something different in my community, to me, it means that these individuals are leaders striving to promote some type of positive change in their community. Where can we find out more about 3-Day Startup?
Well, I think the best place to go is our website,
Okay.
3daystartup.org. So you can find a lot of information there. And then Desiree is actually our main program manager lead in the New York area, and she has, she's running a lot of programs in New York City. So
Okay.
that's another person that you can reach out to.
Yeah, so if you want to find out more about the local programs, you can go to nyc.3daystartup.org.
Reload.
Gucci.
I beat the reload, next one.
Good.
I beat the reload, next one. I beat the reload, next one. I beat the reload, next one. I beat the reload, next one.
Good.
I beat the reload, next one. I beat the reload, next one.